Have you ever finished a book and realized you barely remember anything from it? For a long time, that's exactly what reading felt like for me. I would spend hours reading a book, close it, and a week later, I couldn't explain a single idea from it. I thought maybe my reading comprehension just wasn't that good. But eventually I realized the problem wasn't intelligence. It was how I was reading. And once I changed my approach, my comprehension improved almost immediately. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the simple reading comprehension system I now use to actually understand and remember what I read. But the first part of the system happens before you even start reading the book. I used to open a book and immediately start reading page 1. Halfway through the book, I would realize I had no idea where the author was going or how the ideas connected. Everything felt scattered. Comprehension improves when your brain understands the structure before the details. I call this the preview pass. Before reading the book, quickly scan the structure. Look at the table of contents, chapter titles, summaries if they exist, or the last paragraph of each chapter. The goal isn't to read yet. The goal is to understand the direction of the book. Educational psychologist David Ausubel studies something called advanced organizers. His research showed that when learners see the structure of information before the details, comprehension and recall improve significantly. Your brain builds mental folders first, which makes it easier to store the information later. So spend about 5 minutes doing a preview pass before reading. Just scan the table of contents and glance through the chapters. Now when you start reading, your brain already knows where the information fits. Once I started previewing books, the next shift made reading feel a lot more engaging. Before, I would read pages passively. My eyes moved across the words, but my brain wasn't really interacting with the ideas. So even if I finished a chapter, nothing stuck. Reading becomes easier to understand when you actively search for answers instead of just decoding words. I call this the question engine. While reading, ask simple questions like, what is this chapter about? What problem is the author solving? What solution are they suggesting? And why does this idea matter? Now reading becomes about finding answers, not just scanning sentences. This uses a learning strategy called elaborative interrogation. Studies show that asking why and how questions while learning forces the brain to process information more deeply. Deeper processing leads to stronger understanding and memory. So while reading, pause every few pages and ask one of those questions. You don't need long notes. Just thinking about the answers keeps your brain engaged with the material. But the biggest improvement in my comprehension happened after finishing each chapter. I used to highlight a lot while reading, but later I realized highlighting didn't actually help me remember much. So I started doing something simpler. Trying to recall ideas from memory strengthens learning much more than rereading. I call this the 3-2-1 capture, or the chapter capture method. After finishing a chapter, write down 3 key ideas from the chapter, 2 questions you still have, and 1 thing you can apply within the next 24 to 48 hours. The important part is writing the ideas in your own words. This uses something called retrieval practice, one of the most reliable findings in learning science. Research shows that trying to recall information from memory strengthens learning much more than rereading or highlighting. Even imperfect recall improves long-term retention. So spend about 3 to 5 minutes after each chapter writing your 3-2-1 notes. It doesn't need to be perfect. The goal is to simply pull the ideas out of your memory. Another small shift helped me stay focused while reading, especially when my attention was low. There were times when I wanted to read, but my focus wasn't great. My mind would drift after just a few pages. That's when I started experimenting with something simple. Combining multiple forms of input can make it easier for your brain to stay engaged. I call this dual input reading. You listen to the audiobook while reading the physical book at the same time. Research on multimodal learning shows that combining auditory and visual input can improve comprehension and focus. Your eyes follow the text while your ears reinforce the information. This reduces mind wandering and helps maintain attention. So play the audiobook while following along in the physical book. If your attention starts drifting, the audio pulls you back into the text. Over time, many people find they can transition back to reading without the audio. I used to choose books based on recommendations, bestseller lists, or what I thought I should read. But I noticed something interesting. The books I remembered the most were the ones I was actually curious about. Curiosity dramatically improves attention and learning. Prioritize books that solve problems you're currently interested in. Think of books as tools for questions you already have. Research in learning science shows that curiosity increases dopamine activity in the brain, which improves memory and information retention. When you're genuinely curious, your brain is naturally more engaged with the material. So instead of asking what book should I read, ask what problem am I trying to understand right now? Then choose a book that helps answer that question. But there's still one big problem most people run into. Even if you understand how to read better, sometimes reading still feels heavy, like your brain's just working harder than it should. That usually means you're making a very subtle mistake almost everyone makes, and most people don't even realize they're doing it. I'm going to break that down in this video right here. I'll show you exactly why reading sometimes feels mentally exhausting and what to change so it finally starts to feel easier. Keep learning, keep growing, keep going. I'll see you in the next one.